This morning we speak with Peter Doukas, Chairman of the Ethnic Communities Council of New South Wales. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Annalyn. How are you?
Good, thanks. The Ethnic Communities Council of New South Wales, or ECCNSW, is celebrating a milestone. It's 40 years. Yep.
That's correct.
First, let's look back at the 4 decades of the Ethnic Communities Council of NSW since it was established, as advocating for the vision of a pluralistic and multiculturalism in Australia.
It's a long story, Annalyn.
Yeah.
But to summarise, the story of multiculturalism in Australia is a long and, in some cases, a very difficult one. The tradition of people from a non-English speaking background stems back all the way through to the First Fleet. But it rose to prominence after the waves of mass migration in the 1940s, 50s and 1960s, where organisations were established to represent the various communities, be they Chinese, be they Vietnamese, be they Korean, be they Greek. And in the 1970s, these organisations came together, and it happened to match the backing of the federal government at the time, to establish a single peak body to represent them as ethnic communities in a particular state. And that's where the Ethnic Communities Council came from.
The ECC is as old as SBS. It's 40 years this year.
Exactly. SBS and ECC share a birthday. In 1975, the Australian government changed its mainstay policy of the White Australia policy and adopted what we have today and what we know today as multiculturalism. And SBS and the ECC were supported by the government of the day, and that's why we share a birthday.
Yeah, and aside from sharing a birthday, you also share a partnership where you engage in activities concerning the migrants and being a multicultural Australia.
Absolutely. We're symbiotic in many ways. We've been working with SBS since we were set up and since SBS was set up. Obviously, many of our members, like the Filipino community, are listeners to SBS and follow SBS programming. I know from my childhood, SBS was the window to the rest of the world because you could only understand, members of my family couldn't understand English, so they got their news from SBS. So for us, it is a natural partnership with the broadcaster, and we've been working together in various ways since we were both set up, and we're continuing this partnership. SBS is our media partner for our 40th anniversary ball that we're hosting later in the month, and it'll also be our media partner for the conference that we'll be hosting at the end of the year.
And aside from this that you have mentioned, you're also doing a partnership with SBS concerning the students from the Macquarie University.
That's correct. The Media Mentorship Program is something that I'm very proud of. SBS, Macquarie University and the Ethnic Communities Council have got together and, through an agreement, organised a mentoring program for Macquarie University students who are studying media. And the idea is to change the face of mainstream media. And the way that we do it is we get students who are interested in their first year of university, and we run them through SBS as interns. We introduce them to the Ethnic Communities Council through our programs and our members and our members' organisations, and they then get access to SBS's media work, and some of them actually follow some of the well-known SBS mainstream.
And in this way, the students from Macquarie University are being aware of what's happening in the migrant community.
Absolutely. What we've found is that students are aware about what's happening in their community, but they haven't got a broad understanding of the multicultural climate in Australia. So this gives them access not only to SBS, but into the wider array of ethnic communities outside their own.
In ECCNSW's 40 years, there are lots of projects and events that has been done. What are the projects that are continuing to be done by ECC?
There are various projects that we've done, from advocacy at the beginning to one of the things that I'm very proud of is the Ethnic Communities Council was the lead lobbyist in the setting up of the Community Relations Commission, which is now known as Multicultural New South Wales, which acts as the conduit between government and the communities. Yeah. In more recent past, we've been involved in some great environmental programs, one of which was the Waterless Walks program that was coordinated with the Ministry of the Environment, where we tried and successfully implemented water-saving programs for Chinese and Asian restaurants to save on their water usage. It saved them money, it helps the environment, and it also allowed us, through bilingual educators, to show the owners of these small businesses how to save water, but also to save themselves some money. So it really has some practical impact.
Yeah. And one of the things you supported was the opposition or being opposed to the proposed changes to the Racial Discrimination Act.
Absolutely. As soon as the changes were proposed by the Attorney General, ECC called a special meeting of its members, and we opened it up to not just our board, but to all of our members. And the opposition to the changes to the Act was unanimous. So ECC led its members in coordinating targeted, polite letters of opposition to local members of Parliament and also to the Attorney General. By the end of, I think, the first 3 months after the announcements had been made, ECC, through its members and also its associated bodies, had sent about 100 letters. So it was a great achievement, not just of the Ethnic Communities Council, but of our members.
And it's still an ongoing process.
Look, it is in many ways. Ethnic communities, they're a very vulnerable part of our community, particularly the new and emerging ethnic communities who have just arrived now and setting themselves up. And it's those groups that I, as chair, have been looking to target in terms of support and growth and advocacy. So, absolutely.
And 4 years on, this advocacies that the ECCNSW is doing will continue.
Absolutely.
And in commemoration of ECCNSW's 40 years milestone, you will be holding some events?
The first event that we'll be holding is a ball. The event will be held on Thursday the 21st of May at 6:30 at Concordoro Function Centre in Riverwood. And tickets can be bought by going to a website, www.ECC40years.com. And it's open to the public, obviously subject to the availability of seating. And I'd like to see people in their traditional costumes from each country. I've actually been promised by my Filipino community members to have one of those special shirts brought in for me. A barong.
Yeah,
so,
that's good.
If one of my Filipino friends brings me one, I'll be wearing it on the night. So,
that's good to see. Lastly, 40 years on, and as ECCNSW continue its advocacy of multiculturalism, are there any goals for the future for the Council and its aim for the diverse NSW?
First aims for a diverse New South Wales have been met. Now the challenge is to foster an open, pluralistic and accepting society. It's one thing to have many people from different cultures living together, but it's another thing for that very thing to be the mainstream. So the challenge for the future will be integrating the more established communities with their challenges like aged care and healthcare and ongoing education, with the challenges faced by the new and the emerging communities like settlement services and language services. So if there are challenges that we've faced before, I'm looking forward to it, and I thank the Filipino community for its tireless work in advocating with the ECC in these activities.
Thank you very much, Peter Doukas, Chairman of the Ethnic Communities Council of NSW.
Thank you.
7 billion stories and counting.
SBS Radio.